There's been a lot of good words spoken over the past few weeks. I really like what Pastor Chet's doing, kind of stretching us and getting more people up there. I thought I was going to talk 2 Wednesdays ago, but it kind of got swapped around. And I'm glad because I had no idea what I was going to talk about 2 Wednesdays ago. And now I still don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I've been thinking about a lot of stuff, and so it's all up here and like he said right here. So I'm going to just try to get it out. And hopefully y'all understand and can keep up with me, so buckle in. So a few weeks ago, Dawson talked about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, just being in the fiery pit, and he was talking about being rooted, and it's funny because that same morning, Haley and I were talking about, we were actually earlier in the chapter of Daniel, we were talking about David and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and how they were offered. They were being asked to stay on a certain diet that the kings asked them to be on, and they asked if they could eat fruits and vegetables and eat things that was good in the eyes of the Lord. And so it was a coincidence that it's not a coincidence, but it was just interesting that we were in Daniel, and then Dawson talked about Daniel, and so it kind of got me digging in Daniel a little bit more. And so he was talking about being rooted. I don't think they could have went through that fiery furnace unless they were rooted, like he said, and that started way back when they were in the king's presence and they chose God over eating what the king wanted them to eat. Oftentimes we're being forced things. Eat this or listen to this or do this. But we really just need to do what God has called us to do, right? And so that's what I kind of learned from them. The young guys just being diligent and just doing what the Lord had them to do, and they were rewarded for it. Daniel was given a position where he was, interpreting dreams and things. But I was just kind of digging through Daniel, and just if they wouldn't have, had the boldness just to continue on in what they were doing, they might not have had the roots. They would have been going into that fiery furnace a little bit more scared, if they wouldn't have trusted God in the past. Because, there's a good chance they could have gotten killed if they didn't eat what the king wanted them to eat, And so that was just a building block. That was a stepping stone that rooted their faith. And so some of the things I want to talk about tonight. One is God and I'm not, right? So that's one thing. And another thing is just your heart posture. The Lord just kind of told me when I was kind of praying about what to talk about, that's all I really got was heart posture. And I was like, I've heard that term thrown around before. It's kind of a churchy term, But I just kind of want to talk about that as well. Just like, where is our heart? Your heart's, it's not just the thing beating inside your chest. When it comes to the biblical terms of the heart, it's your will, it's your passion, it's your being, it's your soul. It's not just an organ in your chest. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about heart posture as well. And then there was one more thing. It's just like, who or what is your faith in? So that's kind of the 3 topics I want to hit, and we'll see if we can get it all. But I want to start off in Daniel 4, and this was kind of under the thing I was thinking of, like, he's God and I'm not, right? So basically Nebuchadnezzar is talking about a dream he has, and he was looking for somebody to interpret a dream, and I won't go all the way into that, but I'll just go into, kind of skip down, and we'll just go ahead and go into the interpretation, because Daniel kind of repeats the dream, so we'd just be repeating ourselves. So Daniel, whose name is Belteshazzar, was stunned for a moment, and this is because of the dream. He was stunned for a moment, and his thoughts alarmed him. The king said, Belteshazzar, don't let the dream or its interpretation alarm you. So he answered, my lord, may the dream apply to those who hate you, and its interpretation to your enemies. The tree you saw, which grew large and strong, whose top reached the sky and was visible to all the earth, whose leaves were beautiful and its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it the wild animals lived, and in its branches the birds of the air lived. That tree is you, the king. For you've become great and strong. Your greatness has grown and even reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to the ends of the earth. The king saw an observer, a holy one, coming down from heaven and saying, cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump with its roots in the ground and with a band of iron and bronze around it, in the tender grass of the field. Let him be drenched with dew from the sky and share food with the wild animals for 7 periods of time. This is the interpretation, your majesty, and this is the sentence of the Most High that has been passed against my lord the king. You will be driven away from people to live with the wild animals. You will feed on grass like cattle and be drenched with dew from the sky for 7 periods of time, until you acknowledge that the Most High is ruler over the kingdom of men, and he gives it to anyone he wants. As for the command to leave the tree stump with its roots, your kingdom will be restored to you as soon as you acknowledge that heaven rules. Therefore, may my advice seem good to you, my king. Separate yourself from your sins by doing what is right, and from your injustices by showing mercy to the needy. Perhaps there will be an extension of your prosperity. So it goes on to say, verse 28, it goes on to say, all this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he was walking on the roof of his royal palace in Babylon. The king exclaimed, is this not Babylon the Great that I have built by my vast power to be a royal residence and to display my majestic glory? While the words were still in the king's mouth, a voice came from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is declared that the kingdom is separated from you. You will be driven away from people to live with the wild animals, and you will feed on grass like cattle for 7 periods of time, until you acknowledge that the Most High is ruler over the kingdom of men, and he gives it to anyone he wants. At that moment, the sentence against Nebuchadnezzar was executed. He was driven away from his people. He ate grass like cattle, and his body was drenched with dew from the sky, until his hair grew like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. But at the end of those days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, looked up to heaven, and my sanity returned to me. Then I praised the Most High, and honored and glorified him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are counted as nothing, and he does what he wants with the army of heaven and the inhabitants of the earth. There was no one who could hold back his hand or say to him, what have you done? At that time my sanity returned to me, and my majesty and splendor returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. My advisors and my nobles sought me out. I was reestablished over my kingdom, and even more greatness came to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and glorify the King of heaven, because all his works are true and his ways are just. He is able to humble those who walk in pride. So that's just kind of where I got, like, God is God and I'm not. You know, he puts people in places that maybe don't deserve it, we think, you know, in the human perspective, in the human eyes, you know, we might think that people don't deserve kind of the places they're at, but really we don't deserve anything that we get, right? I mean, and so kind of going into that, I was just kind of doing some more reading, and like I said, we just had a lot of good stuff the past few weeks being taught, and forgot where I was going to go next. Hang on. I think it was, I think Jesse's not here yet. Jesse last week talked about like speed bumps, and that's and so kind of like where I was going with the. You know, what is your faith in, or who is your faith in? You know, it's like she was talking about speed bumps. You know, sometimes we're blowing and going, and we think we're doing great things for the Lord, but our heart's not in it, and we stop praying, we stop seeking, we stop reading, and sometimes we hit those speed bumps because they kind of slow us down, right? Sometimes we're just blowing and going, and we need to be slowed down, and so basically trials produce faith, right? And so those speed bumps help encourage our faith. It helps produce our faith. You know, oftentimes when things are going really good, we tend to want to just, we got it, you know, we kind of just, hey, we got this. Kind of like King Nebuchadnezzar, you know, we might not say it, but it's like, hey, look at all this that I've accomplished, you know. And the Lord's trying to humble us because it's not ours that to begin with, it's his, and so we need to give it back to him. And so I just thought that was a very interesting story with Nebuchadnezzar, the way he just was humbled, and as soon as the words left his mouth, you know, God just, hey, hold up, you know, I'm in charge here, not you. And so basically another thing, when I kind of heard heart posture, I was like I said, I feel like I've heard that before, but I kind of just started doing some digging here, and I wanted to read some verses that kind of talk about the heart as well, if I could find them. Hang on a second. All right, so Matthew 22:37, you know, we've heard that one a lot. He said, you shall love the Lord God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. That's Matthew 22:37. Proverbs 4:23 says, keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. So, you know, there's another verse that says, let's see if I can find that one. There's another verse that says something about, like, you know, a lot of people want to say trust your heart, you know, like, oh, just trust your heart. A lot of the world wants to say that, but I think later on in Proverbs it says, or somewhere it says the heart's deceiving, because we let the world kind of kind of control our heart posture. We don't let God control our heart posture. So sometimes we get our heart full of earthly desires, and we have these ideals in our life of like, well, once I make it to this certain level, then I could, start giving to the needy, start giving to the poor. Once I have enough money in my bank account. But that's not showing faith. That's not stepping out in faith and trusting that God will take care of your needs. And then 1 Samuel 16:7, the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." So he was talking about David, his stature and his size. A lot of people, we might get looked at like, we might be short, we might be tall, we might be, goofy looking. People look at the outside, they don't look at our heart, and I think that's one thing I do love about this place and about my Trace Diaz brothers and stuff is they see each other's heart, guys, and I went and served this past weekend in a place that I've never served before, like the weekend before last, and it was a lot of prayer involved in these weekends, and I got prayed up a couple times, and just hearing some of these guys that I do life with on Tuesday nights, I go meet up with them and buddies in that group with me, and just hearing some of these guys, what some of these guys were saying in their prayers of me, I just was wrecked. I just started bawling. It's like, because they see me for my heart, like they see like my passions. They see where my calling's at, and that's what I like about this place is, everybody sees, we see each other's hearts, we're not looking at the outward appearance. We know what we're called to do, and we do it, and we get encouraged and exhorted by it. So God looks at the heart, not the appearance. And so, with that, the heart posture thing, when things get tough, how is our heart posture? Are we angry? Are we upset? Are we like, what's the point of this? I've been there before, like, just what the heck is the point? Like, I'm doing this, I'm seeking Him, and things aren't getting easier. Aren't they supposed to get easier? Like, I don't think it ever gets easier, but it gets easier to handle with Him on your side. Things don't get easier, but we get stronger, right? We grow. And that's why I was kind of thinking, like, what is our faith in, or who is our faith in? Because if it's in things, if we're just doing this just so, like Pastor Chet was talking about on Sunday, if we're just doing this just to get the payday, just to get the check, and there's still work to be done. If we're just doing, if we're just doing works, we're saved. We're not saved by works. We're saved for works, right? We're saved so we can do work for God. Okay, it's not by the works that we do. It's by grace, which comes through faith, right? I think that's in Romans or somewhere. It's in the Bible somewhere. Trust me on that.
Front to back, bro.
Yeah, but it's like faith, like grace comes through faith. So like faith is like the pipe, and the grace is the water, and it's kind of the transporter of the grace is the faith. And as we go through trials, we get more grace and we get more faith. Our trials bring us closer to God. I think I've heard Pastor Seth said that. Like, trials increase your faith. Because, again, we're not thinking we got this. We're brought to our knees and we realize, like, hey, I don't have this. I need you. And then He comes through for us, and we can remember on that. We have something like a fringe to look at, just something to anchor us in, the hope. He's been there time and time again, so why do I freak out now, and why do I get mad or get angry or just gossip or slander about people? It's why does it matter? So I just got some more verses about the heart. So we know in Matthew 5:8 it says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Here's that verse I found. Jeremiah 17:9, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it?" So, we got a condition. We got a sinful condition. It's Adam brought it in, and it's part of God's will. So Ezekiel 11:19 says, "I will give them one heart, and a new spirit I will put within them. I will remove the heart of stone and from their flesh and give them a heart of flesh." So, like God knew that Adam was going to sin. God knew we were going to sin. God knew that His Son was going to die on the cross. He knows, He knows all this stuff. So He knows that we have like a sinful nature, and so He wants to work on our heart. And like I said, the way He does that is through trials. I don't really know. That's pretty. It's going to be short because I really don't have much else. But I can just keep reading Scripture. You may do that. I mean, I can sit here and read the Bible. I feel like there was so much more, but I'm just going blank right now. So I feel like I need to just shut it down. Maybe, I don't know. Anybody else got anything they want to say?
Grab a forgiveness track on the way out.
I'm sweating up here. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. Just check your heart posture. Where's your faith at? And he's God, not us.